Welcome to tonight's regional news. We start with Guyanese-born Bob Collymore, who was the chief executive officer at Safaricom, a multinational telecommunications company based in Kenya, passed away on July 1 after battling with cancer for the past 2 years. Collymore, 61, served as the CEO for Safaricom after 9 years in Africa and Asia with British telecom firm Vodafone, which partly owns Safaricom together with the Kenyan government and the South African mobile operator Vodacom. He helped during his time to expand the company's focus to include digital services, introduce a popular mobile money transferring service M-Pesa, and supervise the company's rapidly growing customer base. During his tenure, Safaricom grew into one of the largest and most profitable companies in East Africa, with it now being the country's biggest telecom operator, claiming 31.8 million out of the country's 51 million mobile subscribers. We move on now to Trinidad and Tobago. 3 men were shot and killed and 3 others injured in 4 separate shooting incidents across North Trinidad yesterday. The first shooting occurred after 2 a.m. when 20-year-old Kareem Taylor of Trimaka Road in Levantel was attacked near his home. Taylor was shot several times and died on the scene. Almost 4 hours later, homicide detectives were summoned to First Trace Main Road to Napuna, where they checked and found 32-year-old Kevin Sweepman Fagaro bleeding from gunshot wounds. Police believe that Fagaro was in his one-room house when a gunman entered the property and shot him as he slept. The third murder occurred at Pioneer Drive C lots around 3 p.m. and was identified as Ronald Talman Joseph. He had reportedly left home to take a bath at the standpipe in the community when he and a friend were ambushed by a gunman who shot them several times. The gunman then got into a vehicle and drove away. Joseph died on the scene while his friend, who was not identified, remained warded in critical condition up to late yesterday. Police believe that Joseph may have been targeted by members of a rival gang. Meanwhile, 3 men were wounded after a brazen shootout between rival gangs in Mount Lambert around 2 p.m. Eyewitnesses who were liming at a nearby bar told police that the car was being pursued by another car and occupants of both vehicles were shooting at each other. The driver of one vehicle stopped after he was wounded in the shootout. The killings raised the number of people killed for the year to 260. And finally, in Venezuela. Venezuela's defense ministry yesterday confirmed the death of a military officer who opposition leaders and family members said was tortured in custody after his detention over alleged involvement in a coup plot against President Nicolas Maduro. The death of Navy Captain Rafael Acosta came on the heels of a visit by the United Nations Human Rights Chief Michelle Bachelet to investigate rights violations ranging from extrajudicial killings to forced disappearances. Acosta was taken to a military tribunal on June 28, but he fainted before the hearing could begin, the Defense Ministry said in a brief statement on Sunday, leading the judge in the case to transfer him to a military hospital. Acosta was barely conscious in a court hearing on Friday after having been beaten and tortured, his wife Valesca Perez said in an interview with a Miami television station, based on information she said she received from Acosta's defense counsel. Maduro last week said military officers, with the support of opposition politicians and foreign political leaders, had plotted to overthrow his government. And that is all for tonight's regional news. AMEL Griffith reporting for HGP Nightly News.